Now for what's trending in true crime, jury selections underway in the strangled women murder trial for defendant Wade Wilson. The defense team is asking potential jurors an interesting question.
Is there anything about his face that would cause you just to say, oh, he's guilty, or would you be able to say, I'm going to listen to the evidence and make the state prove the charges beyond a reasonable doubt?
As you can see, Mr. Wilson has numerous facial tattoos, and he's asked the court to be able to get a haircut, have a suit brought in for him, and makeup brought in to cover up the tattoos. But as you can see, while he's got the suit, he doesn't appear to be using the makeup. We can still see all the tattoos. Now, Wilson is accused of murdering 2 women. Here are the victims here: Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz. He's also accused of some other crimes. These Florida women were living in the Cape Coral area. They were killed back in 2019, and Wilson is now headed to trial. So we're wondering, could all those facial tattoos potentially influence the jury? Let's bring in our guest and talk about it. In the studio with me, psychologist Dr. Sue Kornbluth, joining us remotely, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borghardt, and celebrity attorney John Phillips. Great to see you all. Okay, what might the jury be thinking if they see the tattoos? That is the question. Dr. Sue, our psychology expert, let me start with you, please.
Oh, Julie, here we are again, tattoos all over the face. We've seen this in other defendants before. Having these tattoos on their face, I think, is going to affect the jury in negative ways. A lot of these tattoos that he has are hate tattoos, and a jury is not going to look fondly upon that. In fact, I think it's going to impact him in extremely negative ways.
Right. A hate tattoo. I'm glad you pointed that out, Dr. Sue. And I'm not sure where it is on his face, because there's a lot of tattoos on his face, but apparently there's a swastika somewhere on his face. I'm not sure which side, but perhaps if you look long enough, you'll see it. There it is. Looks under his eye. It looks like it's under his right eye. Okay, so we're looking. There it is. If you look closely, that's not good. I can see why the attorneys are concerned here. John Phillips, let me go to you next. Your thoughts on this?
I have court this morning, so I couldn't do better than this. I love court TV tattoo under my right eye, you know.
That would be great. That's an acceptable tattoo, John Phillips. We love that.
It's ultimately the court's discretion. I've seen cases where, you know, they have up to $125 a day for a cosmetologist to cover them up. You know, I'd argue it doesn't fall under more prejudicial than probative, or some of the things used to keep out evidence, because it's not evidence. And that's a lot to cover up, and certainly would be excruciatingly expensive for taxpayers to try to remove them. And sometimes it depends on when the tattoo was acquired. Sometimes they acquire them in jail, and sometimes, not necessarily here, they're evidence of the crime. Like a swastika in a hate crime sometimes shows, you know, kind of motive and intent. So it's a tough case, ultimately under the discretion of the judge.
Great points, John. Great points. You know, and depending on the type of makeup you have, it may or may not cover it up. I would think he would need some professional makeup artist or somebody to cover all that up, because that is a lot, and it can be distracting. Last but certainly not least, Franz Borghardt, wants you to weigh in.
So here's the thing. The defense attorney is doing the right thing. If you're not going to have it covered up with makeup, you've got to get in front of it. You've got to tell the jury during jury selection, look, all due respect to my client, he's got a whole bunch of tattoos on his face, and while we're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, we do it every single day, right? And so I need to know, ladies and gentlemen, potential ladies and gentlemen of the jury, does the fact that my client have a whole bunch of tattoos, including a hate tattoo on his face, is that going to change anything? Is that going to move anything? Now, there's a better way of doing what I just did, Julie, to be sure. But by getting in front of it, at least she protects the record. She can have an honest conversation. You know, I've done it before to where I even said, look, when I first met my client and I saw these tattoos, I thought, yep, looks like the kind of person that would do this kind of crime. Great.
Perception.
Yeah, perception is everything. Dr. Sue, go ahead.
I was just thinking, as my colleagues were speaking, that Perception is everything. That's how our minds work. So when they're seeing all these tattoos, they are making judgments. We cannot stop ourselves from making judgments unless we work on that, which most people don't do, Julie.
Self-reflect and work on being non-judgmental. Yeah, that's true, Dr. Sue. I'm with you on that. Some good advice for everybody, right? And let's look at some past Court TV cases, because this one has many of our wonderful viewers talking, and those of us at Court TV were thinking about some other cases where we've wondered if they would be distracting for the jury with these defendants. We've got Christopher McNabb. Those of you, Courties, who I love so much, who were there from day one with us. His trial was the first one we broadcast when we relaunched in May of 2019. He was convicted of murder for the death of his baby Kalia, and sentenced to life in prison. And then we've got Andre Warner. He's on death row right now in Florida, convicted of murder. And then more recently, Adam Montgomery, remember him, 40 years he's serving for killing his daughter Harmony, and he's got the teardrop under his eye. And those of us who worked in the criminal justice system, you know, you encounter some people who get those tattoos because they want to brag that they've got a body or two bodies under them, and some that just get it just to look like they're hard and have killed somebody before. John Phillips, I want to go back to you, please. Advice you would give to this guy. Let's say he was your client and he comes in and he's like, help me out, John Phillips. How do you tackle all the issues going on with this guy and his appearance?
It's tough, you know, and where's the line, right? So we know that a criminal defendant doesn't have to sit there in an orange or whatever color jumpsuit. You get a suit, right? But what if they want an Armani suit? Well, it depends. They got to pay for that. And here you do what you can to clean up and try to, you know, present somebody that's as non-judged as possible. But a lot of it, you just got to argue and voir dire. You just got to, you know, push that jury to not judge, you know, your client based upon some, you know, appearance. Let the evidence be what causes the conviction or acquittal.
Right. I'm glad you said that, John, about voir dire. You know, during the jury selection process, what you ask is key. Franz, final word to you. To that point, they're still in the jury selection. What would you be thinking about if Mr. Wilson is your client and you were trying to get the best possible unbiased jury for him?
I think you just got to lean into the fact that we, like it was said, that we all judge based on perception. And it's okay to do that. It just may not be okay for you to sit on a jury if that's going to be, you know, what you do in this case. The other piece is he looks like a DC comic villain right now. He's wearing a purple jacket. I mean, I would change the colors. I would definitely change the color scheme up. Because, I mean, he's dressing the role right now, right?
Yeah, Dr. Seuss on the Joker. Yes. I know, we both all got the Joker image when you said the fronts. Yep. Yeah, you know, you're right. That is not a preferable suit, right? Because even clothing's distracting in the courtroom. We all know that. I mean, oh my, we could go on and on. We've got to leave it there. We're out of time. Oh my gosh, we got to say goodbye to our friend John Phillips. Thank you so much for weighing in. We got to let you get off to court. Franz and Dr. Sue are coming along. We want you to do the same. Here's what's still ahead on opening statement.